apologies here from Councillor McPherson. They've gone through everybody.
Well, there's also Councillor Brenner because he's at the dentist.
Right.
Apparently.
Councillor Baird.
In a roll call, Councillor Baird.
Present. Present.
Councillor Boyd.
Present.
Councillor Campbell Sinclair.
Not hearing.
Yeah, you're
Far away from the microphone. I think Councillor Campbell Sinclair is not here. Councillor Christie. Councillor Coburn.
Present when I find my mute button, thank you.
Councillor Fraser. David. Fraser. Councillor Green.
Present.
Councillor Hendry. Councillor Jarvie.
Afternoon, present.
Councillor Jones. Councillor Mackenzie. Councillor McIntosh.
am here.
Councillor Robertson. Councillor Saggers.
Present.
Councillor Smith.
Maxine had intended to come, but she also had the dentist, but she was expecting to be here.
She'll arrive. Gibson.
Yeah.
Here, and Ms. Stewart.
She was planning to.
Present.
Thank you.
Councillor Fraser gone to the bridge briefing or
Right.
demonstration of some kind.
Okay.
Any declarations of interest? Item 3 on the agenda is the minutes. Can we agree the minutes are correct for record?
Agreed.
Item 4, the work programme update. Ron.
Thanks, Convener. This is quite a short report this time. It is the standard report looking at all the projects. That's because we have separate items covering the My Council programme and asset management, which are two substantive items for today. Just quickly going through the rest of the report. There are 3 recommendations here, most in section 2. Section 5 lists the projects that have previously been reported to the redesign board. So there has been a bit of change there. In that we've had food in schools is now added in. We've clearly had a workshop, and Sheila is here to cover food in schools if there's any questions. Asset management is a separate report. Framework redesign is included within the asset management work. Roads and the buses I'll come on to in a second. The employability review. This board is now incorporated into the workforce for the future portfolio and the delivery plan, and it's been reported. Just going back briefly to 3 projects that are in this report. Firstly, food in schools. The workshop in September. So Sheila is here to pick up any questions relating to that item. Roads. The update on roads is that we're actually getting now to the closure of the first phase of the roads redesign. The project team are just working on that closure activity and the scoping for what phase 2 will look like. And then we'll be coming back in due course with what that scope looks like, and kicking off that second part of the project. And then finally, the in-house bus operations. That feeling from the team there is that the actual project to implement that, the redesign project, is now business as usual. There may well be something that comes back here in future if trying to expand, change the service, but as it is, we have operational bus service. So, a quick summary of the report.
Members, just a point of interest, if you're not a member of the committee, you're more than welcome to be here, but we don't take you in the roll call. It's only the members of the committee who are included in the roll call. So, any questions? Awesome.
At our meeting on the 2nd of October, it was agreed that the working group would look on the food in schools to invite pupils, parishes, Waterlane, pupils anywhere near something, onto the project. I'm just wondering, any progress has been made on that?
Oh,
Absolutely, Councillor Christie, we agreed. I'd following the meeting we had with Councillors Jarvie and the local over working group, we discussed this matter with them. I've been in touch with a head of a senior school in Inverness who's expressed an interest, and he is liaising with some senior pupils to get some interest into the project. I think, for example, in terms of how they could be involved was as and when there is a survey done or issued, and quite good just to get their views in sight of that survey before it's even issued, to get their view. That would just be one example. Also, the head teachers also said he'd be quite keen to be involved as appropriate, just to help the senior pupils. Also said is that Sheila and I would be quite happy to go and meet them on their own turf as well, just to make them feel as comfortable as possible. But they're invited that they will be able to add value to this process, and we're keen to do that. Thank you for the suggestion.
those of you who are shy are going to have to speak up because the members online can't hear what you're saying. So try and project. John.
Can I just ask, are we only asking senior pupils? I know the practicalities of asking pupils from primary school might be different, but how are we at all consulting either them or the staff and teachers or in primary schools? How are we consulting them?
The design of the survey, John, will include engagement with senior people in the education service, or the people cluster. We'll be looking for guidance for them to have engagement, with primary pupils, secondary pupils, and even early years, for that matter, including parents. I think the suggestion that Councillor Christie put forward, which was a very good one, was actually being more involved in the actual working group itself and helping shape what we actually do, rather than actually, you are going to survey all service users, irrespective of age. This is more about how they actually can contribute to the actual working group itself. I think, Alice, that was a point you're making, which we took on board and are taking forward.
That's fine. Thanks.
Yeah, because there's no doubt about it, it'd be very difficult to have primary school pupils involved in the working group.
Yes.
The secondary pupils are something that
Like creepy like you.
of the membership. Good point. Muriel.
Thank you, and thank you, Alan. I think you've partially answered the question that I was framing. I think it's important that we engage with some of our rural schools, particularly schools that don't have on-site cooking facilities where the food's brought in. So we need to gauge feedback from them. But equally, may I suggest that we put a call out to schools that have been looking at innovation. For instance, Granton Grammar had recently had a breakfast club week or campaign, whatever way you want to frame it. Bill and I were both invited. I certainly wasn't able to attend, but they were looking at things like fruit smoothies in the morning. So it'd be quite good to find out what local schools have been doing. And I know Fortrose did something last year because they presented at Education Committee. So I think while I agree it's great to have a input from pupils, I think we also need to find out what's been done locally and how that may help in the long term going forward. There's no point in reinventing the wheel if schools have already started doing something.
I think obviously the opinion of the end user, as in the school pupils, is paramount and all that. Yeah, because as we've spoken about this many times in the past, over a good number of years, there is no point giving kids stuff that they won't eat. So all you do is put it in the bin.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any other questions? No. Can we agree the recommendations then?
Great.
Angela, if you've got a point to make, I keep saying this, please don't put it in the chat because not everybody's looking at the chat. Quite happy to give you the time to make your point if you wish, but please don't put it in the chat. Item 5, John, my council programme update. Awesome.
Thank you, convener. Good afternoon, members. So the My Council programme update, you had a detailed update at the last meeting in terms of specifically the customer experience strategy, which I'll come on to in a second. This is an overall My Council programme update, and I've also got Andrea Brown here, who's the programme manager, who will be able to pick up any questions as well as myself, and of course John, who's also in the firing line for this as well. So there are 3 different elements to the My Council programme. There's the customer experience strategy, there's the My Council, the My Highland project, which was formerly the end-to-end customer journey, and also the customer contact methods project, and that's specifically around the telephony and web design side. So the report gives an update generally in terms of the milestones for this project, around the finances and the risks as well. In terms of the customer experience strategy that was agreed by yourselves back at the beginning of October and then was considered at council at the end of October. The launch of the strategy has been progressing. Work has been taken forward in a learning development module specifically for staff, around toolbox talks, how we get that out to our staff across the organisation in different forums, and also about the customer care training. There's staff briefing sessions that are lined up that are being progressed at the moment, and more broadly communications both publicly. So it's an internal as well as an external loop. So that piece of work is ongoing. The report also gives a bit of an update on the work around customer standards and also the review of CRM that are being progressed. The bulk of the report is relating to the redesign of the website, and I know that this is something that you all hold dearly, and we had really good feedback from yourselves when we had the workshop back in September in relation to this. We're still in the design phase of the project at the moment. I'm working with the developer on that. After then, the report outlines some of the initial stakeholder engagement that's been undertaken to help get to the initial design stage. So there are 3 designs that are in Appendix 1, which I'll come back to in a second because we are looking for views from members specifically in relation to that. But there's also information in there about some of the stakeholder engagement that we've had so far as part of the look at the design of the website, and that's summarised in 6.5.1. So certainly a lot of positive feedback that's been received on the designs themselves. There are different elements in there, different views around photographs, around the accessibility aspects. This is a very high level looking at the design side, not the individual content, which is really important at this stage. And I suppose there are, to an extent, some conflicting views because this is about individual preferences to an extent as well. Critical thing for us as an organisation, though, is that it needs to fit the new accessibility legislation and accessibility standards, and that's been built in across all the new designs that are proposed. So one of the asks for the board today is to provide views in relation to that. We'd be really keen to get your views on those initial design elements. I think it's important to highlight the website content work is ongoing with services. Whilst the design will be one thing, critical work is around what goes as part of that going forwards. So that's an opportunity to review current content. Are there things that aren't needed anymore? Are there things that are missing from our website that need to be part of that? And crucially, that customer journey, which I think is something that members have spoken about on every occasion where we've discussed the website and ensuring that people can access that. So I'll pause there, convener. The recommendations are in section 2.
Any thoughts on the website design or any other points you want to make? By all means.
Thank you. So I'm on the My Council board, so I've been privileged to see the design before, and I'm really pleased to see here that you're looking at the categorisation tabs again, because my comment back then was we need to make it so obvious. So we've got resident, business and visitor. I think we need to really simplify it as much as possible, like what is it you want to do, or who are you? And then it takes you to resident, business or visitor. So I'm seeing here that there will be work done. Personally, for me, concept 3 is the best one, but I don't like the text over the image. So if we could have a maybe number 3, but with the text without it. So I thought I'll just start the conversation there and see what other people think.
John?
It was about the CRM system. So if you want to continue with the thing first. No. Right, it was about the CRM system and the review of it. The CRM system used to be able to log if we had customers that were perhaps maybe difficult. There was a warning system for our employees when they were going into houses. And that's not working at the moment. So what I was wanting to know is there a way that we are looking to reintroduce that? And how are we going to be able to make it accessible council-wide? So housing have a list of perhaps people that they would warn their staff about going to. Social work may have a different list. But that doesn't mean to say that some people are having visits from both and we're not telling each other. So how can we do that for the safety of our staff?
That could also impact members, because members sometimes do home visits and would have no access to what you're talking about, John.
So we don't have anything at the moment.
And I'm sure this will come up as part of the meeting that we would organise about member safeties.
In terms of that point in particular, it's absolutely something that's been factored in, has been part of those discussions along with the health and safety manager about how we progress that. So it's alongside that revised customer relationship policy and how we record incidents of a particular nature, which was being progressed through this year's system. But the other angle to that is that, just as you outlined, about how we ensure that that is in place. In terms of your question about how, I'm going to hand over to John from a technical side of things, but equally we're progressing the element around about that. But it is a core part of that requirement that's in scope to reassure you on that. That's it.
So I think it's a good example of how we've got a number of projects in the delivery plan that cross over and assist each other. So we have a data foundations project, which is looking at creating a single view of our customer. So that clearly will be tying in very closely with the CRM system. Because we record customers in other systems as you say, social work, planning systems. Most of our systems record customers in some way. We have different views of customers. So one of the outcomes of that data foundation project will be to bring that together to get a single view. I think there is scope within that then to look at, well, what extra functionality do we want to bring in, such as you're talking about, that it can widen out. But that will sit outside of CRM or social work system or Revs and BEMS or whatever. It's actually something then that we can integrate in a different way so make it available to more staff. We're in the early stages of that project, but I think there's two ways we can look at this. Certainly for CRM users, I think we can look at something quickly, but then I think there is a wider across the council about getting that single view of the customer. It also feeds into the online services on the website, so there's a number of where projects touch each other. But that makes sense. I can go into more technical detail, but I don't think you'd want to hear all of that.
Just on that point, Alistair.
And other points.
Well, I think you do.
Yeah. Okay. Just on that, the point about staff safety. Of course, there are organisations that deliver the statutory responsibility of the council to residents, such as our citizens advised. And I know anecdotally that we've actually had advisors go into people's houses, and when we've told the council, the department in particular, that we've been there, they said, and you went there alone, and you sent a female member of staff. So I think there's got to be a wider look at how we share with people that've got contracts with the council to deliver part of their statutory service around these warnings, and vice versa, because obviously the third sector will pick up information that would benefit council staff. But just on this, I actually prefer concept 2. I find the font was slightly larger. So I think, I agree with you, I don't think we should have writing across pictures, but I prefer the size of the font on concept 2. I found it easier to read. I think it'll be a question of just weeding it down to what looks best, and maybe that's something we should actually take out to a local 55 plus club, just show them examples of it, and just say that, you know, which one do you like, because you're the guys who are going to be using it. It's all very well for us to say we like that one, when the public might say, but maybe we should actually think about just taking out a few areas and just saying, look, this one better or that one better, you know, and seeing how they get on with it. But I think the progress of this has been really good, Bill. That's really fast. It's going in the right direction.
You've got a good sample of the 55 plus club here as it is.
I know.
Barbara.
Oh, I'm trying. Where will I start? Could just simple things like, could we just have the words click on the box, click on the sentence? I've had people saying, oh, there was nothing there, I looked at it, but they didn't know they had to click on the sentence or the box. That would be handy, especially for people that are not brought up in the digital world at school and are still kind of tripping their way around it. The white writing on the dark colours I find harder to read than the black on like a pale sort of neutral colour. That is easier to read. I don't like the boxes are writing across a picture. It's easier when it's under the picture and separated. And I think the writing on the dark sort of patterned background, that's difficult to read. Has there been consultation with people expert in neurodiverse people's needs, like the Pines or the RNIB, as to what is actually easier to read? And a lot of vision impaired people now have, there's more and more of these digital gadgets that they can use to help read things for them. Has that been tested, how they best work and on what backgrounds they work best on? That would be quite important, because more and more people are using these digital gadgets to help to read. That would be good. And advice, has there been advice on actual colours on backgrounds? These people, I think, would be text readers, that's what it's called, would be helpful on that before it's rolled out. That's all, thanks. But the clear layout of things segregated into boxes, I think, is clearer and handier to use. Thanks.
And thanks, Councillor Jarvie. I'm going to hand over to Andrea. I was going to talk a wee bit broader about some of the groups that have been engaged with, but one of the critical things about needing to upgrade our website is to ensure that it fits with the new accessibility requirements. And our web team have some very experienced people within there who have worked specifically on this. And it's all of those issues that you're picking up that the new website needs to comply with. So I was looking for the right word, comply with. So those are all of those particular aspects that you're picking up. But we have had some broader engagement about the different designs. And Andrea,
yeah, afternoon members. Thank you, Barbara. It's probably worth pointing out some of the user forums. We have a number of online forums, and there are a couple of forums with groups that were access panels, including partially sighted, accessibility, and they gave some great feedback. So we're currently working on the analysis of that feedback. They've also offered to continue to work with us throughout further iterations. So this is obviously just the first iteration. And when we come and take feedback and we come up with hybrid version of that, we'll be sharing that again and going out to the same user groups. But they've certainly offered wider opportunities for us to engage with some of those access panel groups as well. So we will definitely make sure we continue those engagement sessions throughout the process.
Thank you. Raymond.
Thanks, and thanks for the work on this. Alison, I did say that I was happy to meet up with you and feed into this, separately, in terms of the website, in terms of the accessibility of it and what have you. But I suppose for me, the main thing that I would want noted here is the inclusion of Gaelic. We have a Gaelic policy. We had discussion this morning about the GLP, the Gaelic Language Plan of Council, and I noticed that in the papers it is purely referenced at 3.6, where it says website redesign project has had significant involvement from the Gaelic team, along with discussions with Bordna Gaelic. A Gaelic version of the customer charter is currently in production. It would be good to understand and flesh out just exactly what the inclusion of Gaelic and how we are going to incorporate that bilingualism in the website to make it more inclusive for our bilingual population, especially our young people, because we have we have per capita the biggest amount of young people and a huge amount of Gaelic speaking people in the council area. So it'd be good to flesh that out. That's the only one point I'm actually going to make today. So thanks very much for that.
Come back on that.
Sure.
Councillor Brenner, more than happy to meet with you, probably with this session just now, to update you, to reassure you there are members from the Gaelic Development team that sit on the web project team, and that's specifically so that we're ensuring that Gaelic is included as part of that. And how do we enhance our Gaelic presence on our website? And there are different ways of doing that. I know that there was a short summary in the paper to the Gaelic Committee this morning, one of the papers to the Gaelic Committee this morning, but happy to meet with you out with this and go into a wee bit more detail about what are some of the options and what are some of the ideas coming forward as part of that. That would be helpful.
Muriel.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Alison. Just referring to the access panels, I think it's important that we refer to them. For instance, in Badenoch and Strathspey, we're very fortunate to have a very active and proactive access panel who cover everything from neurodiversity to sight, etc. They work closely with the health service. They work very closely with the national park. They've designed their own leaflets and things like colours. I think Barbara mentioned colours, backgrounds. So there's a lot of knowledge there, and it's good that they're, whatever the final document or paper looks like, I think it's equally important to list access panels as well. The other advantage our access panel has, I attend their meetings, is that they have got a planning officer that attends and is their named planning officer, and that is really, really useful too, and testament to the council for facilitating that historic thing. I agree with Raymond on the Gaelic, obviously. I think it's also important to reflect other languages that are in the Highlands and at least have a point of reference for people with where English isn't or Gaelic is not their native language. And we do have some small pockets of resource in the Highlands where people do go, but I think it's important that we know how to access them and direct people to them. Thanks, Alison.
Just a couple of points I made. Firstly, on inclusion, there are a few of us in the team that are part of the Highland Digital Inclusion Network, which I found very useful because it brings together a whole range of different groups. So it's a way of just kind of gauging thoughts on not just the website, but a number of the developments we're looking at. So just a quick point on the website design concepts. Firstly, the three concepts don't stand alone. We can pick and choose the bits between them. So if there's a better font on one of them, we can incorporate that with a different layout from one of the others. So just to make that point, the number of people have said, well, I like that bit out of concept 1 and that bit out of concept 2. So that's perfectly okay. I guess that it's not a never-ending process, though. We do need to get to a conclusion on that reasonably quickly. We're working with Jadu, the supplier, now just to confirm timelines. We have pushed the timeline out a bit further than we originally intended, just so that we make sure that we do get the right engagement on the design. But we're now looking at not too long away, and Andrea can maybe give me an idea of timescale, but to get to a conclusion so that they can actually get on building it. Andrea, if you've got any thoughts about the timescale there?
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, I think everyone was in agreement that it was worthwhile the investment, and obviously we spent time with you, Jackie and Bill, and we've done that with several people to just invest the time. And it isn't just about the look and feel and preference, it is about the accessibility. It's quite a complex process getting to the point where you actually sign off on the design. But what we will have is further iteration, so that's not the final outcome, and every iteration will be coming back to all those user groups, all those key people. So we're hoping to get we're pushing to get that sign off the Christmas break and back to Jadu, which means they can go back and replan and look at how that looks in the overall plan. So that's the at the moment, John, is that we go back to Jadu before then and have a real clear view in January of what that looks like in the overall timescale for the website going live.
Just to reassure the redesign board, I think it's important the design board will have a significant say in approval of the final concept, just to make that reassurance, just get that date. And hopefully it's an actual physical board convener, but if it needs to be by email to keep time going, we may do it by email if that's okay. But
To me, the format is better. It was a workshop if you're going to do anything.
yeah, even better.
Workshop. That's probably the best thing.
Yeah, okay.
John?
Thank you for letting me speak. I'm pleased that you mentioned accessibility. A lot of people have mentioned coloured backgrounds and so on, which is important. One thing that is made a mistake with is images and screen readers. So if you've got an image, if you don't put information in the title, then you'll just get image 08 on the screen reader, which means really nothing. Also, images behind text, sometimes that can mean that you get a text reading and all of a sudden there's this image title slap bang in the middle of it. So that's often missed even with the professionals. So thank you.
Laurie?
Yeah, great. I was on it on Monday night and I noticed the first thing I was looking for a valuation board. I noticed they're all school, every committee was just listed, I think alphabetically, it's 60, 70 of them. I went for evaluation, I went to V, couldn't find it there. I went for W, West Wales, couldn't find it there. I went to H, Highland, couldn't find H. Went for T, couldn't find it under T, and eventually I found it under J for joint evaluation board. But what I thought was it's just there's so many of them, maybe it can be split up like the old way, or what some businesses do, they put an alphabet box at the top. If you click on A, it takes you to A. If you take on Z, it'll take you to item Z. It's just a small point. Otherwise, it was fine. I've got the papers printed. Yeah.
I think Laurie's actually right, because I think it actually is correct title is the valuation joint board, not the
Joint.
Not the joint valuation board. But Sinclair.
Chair, thanks for the opportunity to speak. This is my first dip into this piece of work, an excellent piece of work. So well done, all the team who've brought it thus far. I'm not sure I've got a preference for which of the three concepts was presented there. I think all of them have good merits. I was wondering about sort of the next step, what happens after you click on whichever option that you're after, and presuming that we're going for a similar design and feel for other government websites, like paying your car tax as one that will be familiar to most, as to So our public will probably prefer to have something that is familiar. They will probably look at us as simply government, not necessarily Highland. I don't know if thinking has gone that far, or is that all? Okay, thanks very much for your time.
Thank you. So I suppose where we're at is thinking, and Jackie referred to it earlier, about thinking about the different zonas, you know, how people come into the website, and it might be somebody who is local, who's a resident, who's wanting to have information about their council tax or have information about their bins, etc. So what they are really looking for in their view and how they want to pay things, etc., will be different from visitors to the area. So that's an important element of agreeing that going forwards. But the critical bit is about the customer journey, as in reducing the number of clicks. I think it's been mentioned by members quite a few times, the number of times that that customers at the moment have to click to get through to the bit that they actually want. So simplification is a key aspect of that. But part of the design element of that and the content is what's happening over. It's in parallel to this work that's happening at the moment. And if I may, convener, there was just one other point that Councillor Coburn had mentioned around other languages. And just to reassure you, Councillor Coburn, one of the aspects and one of the features that we're looking at exploring at the moment is to have the translator function on there so that it does pick up on other languages, but also a critical element moving forward, which you'll recall from discussion at Communities in Place Committee and also actually in the Chamber at the last council, is around BSL and how we make content available for BSL users. So thinking about that presence on our website and how we make that more accessible is really important as well.
I think we'll also got to remember is that money is how gig Scots tongue reads. So it's not all about Gaelic. So Caroline.
Hi. I would just like to pick up, not on the website, but on the CRM. I've seen that there was 100 responses so far to the survey, and I was just wondering how many people had been asked to participate in the survey, because picking up on what John had said, I think the users are probably the people that are best placed to feed into that, and I just don't know how many, what kind of percentage, what kind of engagement has there been with the amount of people that were asked to participate, if that makes sense.
Tell you that off the top of my head, Caroline, but I'm happy to come back to you separately. I think probably an important point to mention though is that actually the number of actual users of CRM across the organisation is reasonably limited. People get information from CRM, but they don't necessarily use CRM itself. So that's part of the work going forward, is actually to have conversations not just with those who are using CRM, but those who could be potential users of a CRM. So that's another angle, but I'm happy to come back to you.
That's right. Kate? Kate? No. Yeah, but Kate, one final, very minor point from me. There are other photographs available other than an imitation castle in the middle of Inverness. So I'd like to make a point. Sorry, no, okay. Members, can we agree the recommendations on for item 5? Thank you. Item 6, Finlay.
Good afternoon, members. So the report sets out various asset rationalisation work streams that are underway across the council area. Paragraph 5.2 refers to the place-based approach that has been adopted across Highland, which will involve us mapping all of our assets and partner assets to identify where we can jointly co-locate services and drive towards delivering, where practical, a single publicly state. A bit of a challenge, but that's what we're driving forward with. We're also taking a lead in developing the Highland Property Partnership, which will work with external partners such as NHS Highland, HIE, Nature Scottish Government to review all their property holdings as well, identify how they and us can achieve co-location opportunities. We had the first meeting on Monday in this room here, and it was well received, went very well. We need to work with us because they're under the same pressures as Highland Council are in regards to managing, in some cases, vacant assets that are costing them money. So never has the time been right for meeting up and hopefully getting some success in the way forward. They've been reluctant in the past. That's, I say, good opportunities. Paragraph 6.1 provides an update on office moves in Inverness, including headquarters. Sections 8, 9 and 10 provide further updates on rationalisation works being actioned at Dingwall, Fort William, Portree and Wick respectively. Section 11 highlights further progress on council depots, as well as reviews and option appraisals being carried out in Granton and Spey, Gillespie and Thurso, as well as the delivery of new education facilities and future community pods. And section 12 touches on some work we're doing around the trades framework, getting our first board set up for December and taking that work forward. So, Chair, happy to take any questions on the report.
Questions, points, members? Laurie?
I don't see under section 5.3, you've got the main buildings. What about what's there?
In regards to their offices.
Say you retain 5, does that mean Nairn's at risk?
No, that was a previous approval that was taken by the council in regards to key office areas. We're currently now going down the approach of looking at all areas across Highland to understand what the property needs will be for the future. So the pod concept allows us then to look at all service areas, look at the assets within each area, and then take reports back in regards to what we should be retaining, what we should be developing, what we should be probably selling on or moving to a cat transfer. So Nairn will be part of that process, Chair.
Okay. We've got an office building there that was up for sale, but it's been taken down.
Finance office.
Yes. I know the community council put in an application to purchase, but they're not going to come up with it. I just wonder when we can get it back on the market.
So our estates team are in touch with that group to confirm what their actual, I suppose, direction of travel is going to be, and more than likely that will go back on the market.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Trish?
Yeah, it's about Turner Green. Was the addition of a community pod approach, would that in any way delay the delivery of the school, and will there be enough room on site to actually do that? Thank you.
It shouldn't delay, Chair. We're currently carrying out some initial design work for the school right now. We will consider what we can put into that location, but we don't expect, given the time scale and the stage we're at in designing the asset, it shouldn't delay the delivery of the project.
Jackie?
Yeah, I was looking at 6.3, options are being considered to create staff welfare areas. This is a great thing, and I hope we follow through with this. It's not ideal to eat your lunch at your desk.
No.
You know, people do need somewhere to go and just take a break from their screen, and there's enough space here to do that as well. So is this something we can bring back to the next meeting? Because you're saying options are being considered, so it'd be really good to hear happening with that going forward.
Yeah, certainly, Chair. We've got some layouts being designed at the moment, so happy to take these back and just show what's the art of the possible, including some maybe grab and go, some sandwich opportunities, soup and sandwich for staff. We'd like to maybe look at the area outside there, but I appreciate there's a conflict in committee days, but it's not to say we can't make the space work better for us all. Get some touch time space in this part of the building and other parts of the building as well, because it's key that we do get a chance to get away from our desks. And the beauty is line services to maybe just talk to each other instead of just ships that pass in the night, for sure.
Angela?
Yeah, I would like to echo what Jackie's just said, because I've raised it with Finlay already, with some of the proposals in my ward, in that we quite often forget about the staff, but he assures me that there will be adequate, if not very good, welfare spaces for our staff. I would say that I feel as if especially in Dingwall and Seaforth, are in Groundhog Day, and I get so far up the hill and then we get delayed. And my point would be, there has to be clear milestones and that we are able to achieve them so we can see progress. Because Dingwall office rationalisation has been going on forever and it keeps changing, and you create expectations in communities that something will be done quickly, and then 10, 15 years later, nothing's progressed. So it's just having those milestones and having it reviewed to make sure it goes ahead, because I think that staff that are dealing with this have an awful lot on their plate and the priorities may change. Thank you.
That's a question. Maureen.
Yeah, we were speaking with the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service just the other day. I presume they're part of the Highland Property Partnership, because they were saying they have 59 stations which are deemed poor or bad, and surely we've got properties which perhaps there could be a little bit of cooperation there with.
Yes, Chair, thanks, Maureen. Yes, the fire service were in attendance at the meeting and we discussed their asset rationalisation programme as well. They're targeting Portree right now. They've got a modular concept. We'll have a single modular for a single tender, along with possibly a small community hub. That's what they're proposing across Highland and other parts of Scotland. So they are in dialogue. They're keen to work with us. It makes sense where they've got basically unmanned stations around Highland where they haven't got facilities. They could share our depot sites, which makes total sense going forward. So yeah, we are engaging with them. We've got their data now and we'll progress that through the partnership. Yeah.
Thanks, Finlay, that's good.
Okay. Members, you're asked to note the recommendations for, right? Oh, sorry, John.
There's just a couple of questions in relation to 6.1, where it talks about Block A and Block B. That the possibility that we might be able to rent out space in Block A, Block A. Surely we're not going to do that while we're still leaving staff in Block B in a substandard office. Are we not going to, if we're going to introduce an area for welfare, are we also going to make sure that everybody has a decent working space to work in?
Yeah, yes, Chair. We're certainly looking at both options in regard to and it's the discussion we've had that if we want to lease Block A out to a private organisation that would take their tenants into the facility and pay us a rent on the back of that. So it would be a self-funding project paying back itself over 5 to 6 years. And we would do Block B as well, because we can't have X standard in one building and not in the other. So yes, we will, and we'll have to progress work to Block B anyway, irrespective if we don't do Block A. So work will happen in Block B.
Sure, I fully understand the answer, but
so then, what was it?
Are we going to improve Block B to the same standard and Block A to the same standard as the rest of HQ for our employees? Or are we going to improve one and let our employees stay in substandard accommodation while we rent out the good stuff?
No, we wouldn't do that.
Okay, thank you.
David.
Thanks. Can I just ask the redesign board to reflect, Finlay, particularly on the employment of a Gantt chart and some sort of projected timings for some of the projects that we've got here, because I'm acutely aware, and we are acutely aware, that sometimes we can get frustrated at the lack of progress and the lack of pace. I think that was the point that Angela was mentioning there just now. But it would be good if we could incorporate that in terms of the reporting to the redesign board, and just in terms of timeline, and if a Gantt chart or some other method was available or appropriate in being able to report what the kind of target time period it is to be able to achieve some of the asset rationalisation work that's been done by the redesign board. That would be good. Thanks.
I would incorporate that, Chair, into the future report, just to show the sort of timescales, as you've said, and the impacts of where we're moving staff in and out of.
Sure, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, can we agree the recommendations, please? Thank you. Thanks very much for your attendance today. It's good to see so many people here, not just members, but non-members. So thank you all very much. Cheers.